All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining a very quick Locked On Bama podcast. We're going to talk a lot of recruiting here.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's normally him, but he's not here today. He is busy doing stuff. But, there's been so much recruiting news out there here recently about some visits, et cetera. I thought I needed to chime in. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. I want to thank Gametime, and I'll tell you about Gametime, and also want to thank all you everydayers and newbies. You're all welcome here. Thanks for joining us live, too. But first of all, somebody says, where is Jimmy? Jimmy's not here today. He is busy, but he will be back Saturday after the game, I can assure you. Now, I want to talk a little bit about recruiting. First of all, big news that Alabama is going to have some key visitors this weekend. Now, a lot of these visitors are already committed, like Caleb Cunningham, but, Caleb Cunningham has been very impressionable. And so it's crucial to get him on campus as much as possible. He will be coming in, and that's big. He just went to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going to keep going after him. Auburn's going to keep going after him. So is Mississippi State. Still feel very good about Alabama's chances after checking around about his chances of sticking with the Tide. So not super worried about that. Then there's Mika DeBose. He will be in. There has been a lot of talk about him in Ohio State recently, but this is going to be the second weekend in a row Mika DeBose will be in Tuscaloosa. So that's kind of a big deal. The other one that is interesting is London Simmons. This is the defensive lineman out of Flowood, Mississippi. I really like this player a lot. And I think that he's going to shoot up the charts somewhat. I think he could end up being, a pretty solid 4-star when all's said and done. He plays in sort of like 1A-ish football, and he dominates. Now, again, we've seen some 1A people have some fantastic careers, but we all know that it's not the best competition all the time. So he's a big dude, and he dominates where he plays. But I think when he gets a chance, and maybe he plays in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, something like that, or some of these other All-Star games, I think he will prove himself as a pretty solid 4-star. Now, the other news that came out, and this is thanks to Bama Online, where Jimmy Stein works, Braylon Womack, who is the number 1 player in the state of Mississippi for 2026. I mean, this is a pretty unanimous top 50, in some cases top 22 player in the country. Right now, he is crystal ball to Ohio State. I should be saying that, which seems bizarre. But, they've come in and getting Naheem offered and some other people from the South here recently. But he is a teammate of London Simmons, and he will be also visiting this weekend. And that's going to be a big deal because, look, one thing that's been standing out is Alabama's safety position. I mean, it seems like Alabama has missed on a couple of folks at the safety position. They haven't missed a lot this year, but they have missed on a couple of safety prospects. There's no doubt about that. Now, a couple other things. Dawson Merritt will be visiting Nebraska, and it's a big game. And it's going to – I mean, he's going to be caught up in it. Don't be surprised if when he comes back, he says some good things about Nebraska. But according, again, to Bama Online, his mother, Yolanda, said that he is locked in with Alabama. He is expected to visit Nebraska, but this was something that's been expected, and I think it's a courtesy. You never know. I mean, Antonio Coleman, visited Auburn out of the blue and recommitted to them. So you never know what's going to happen. But I feel like Dawson Merritt will end up being a part of this class. Just a couple other things. Of course, Ty Haywood reaffirmed his commitment. Feels very good there. Justin Hill, has reaffirmed his commitment. So that's all positive. There's going to be some basketball folks on campus this weekend. Basketball is going about as well as it can go. Athlon's ranked Alabama number 1. They've got the number 2 combo guard in Davian Hannah from Link Academy, which is, of course, Alabama's LeBaron Philon played at Link Academy last year. That's in Missouri, I believe. And then there's Jaden Toombs, the number 4 center in the country. He's going to be visiting this weekend. And Amari Allen, who is a top 100 player out of Wisconsin, will also be visiting. And there's Caleb Wilson, who is a 5-star. He's going to be coming in. Not Caleb Holt, who will be hopefully on Alabama's roster in a couple of years. Caleb Holt is a guy that he's sort of the Ryan Williams of basketball for me. I really, really want Alabama to get him. And then there's another top 40 power forward in London Jemison that's going to be coming in. So big weekend for both football and basketball. And that it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope the atmosphere is great. It looks like the weather is going to cooperate, which is a big deal. And we're going to have some rain. I'm in Ellick City. I know in Birmingham it's been sort of off and on raining, and there may be a little bit of rain in Tuscaloosa, beginning of the day. But I think it's going to be a pretty day. The weather's going to be perfect. Hope that there's a monster crowd for this Alabama game against South Florida, which is certainly going to be very, very entertaining, I believe. Can't wait to have all my TVs on tomorrow with, Tennessee and North Carolina State, Nebraska, Colorado, and, of course, the Tide and South Florida. So going to be a big Saturday, and we need a good atmosphere for recruiting purposes. And then the very next week, we go to Wisconsin. And I'm going. I hope if any of you are going, I hope you see us there. I wanted to throw out one other programming note. In October, sometime on the weekend of October 11th, it'll be the 11th or the 13th, because Alabama, of course, plays on the 12th against South Carolina. Jimmy and I will be doing this podcast live from a new Academy Sports store. So we just worked out something with them. Can't wait for that to happen. So we'll be doing this live from Academy. It's going to be a new store, grand opening kind of thing. And so would love to have any of you out there listening or watching to come and say hello to us. We'd love to meet you and love to shake your hand and say roll tide and all those big things. So if you can certainly be thinking about October 11th or 13th, and we'll confirm the date later, certainly come out there and join us. We would love to see you. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about a new tight end that's emerged in recruiting, and very interesting name. Right now, though, I want to tell you about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just absolutely the best. We all know this, and you need to go check them out ASAP if you need some to hire anybody, because when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're not looking in the right place, yo. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That's like bam, bam, bam. You got your new quality candidate. You can hire them and you're ready to rock. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, yeah, of course, they're going to apply. So a new tight end name has emerged on the recruiting scene in Vanderploeg. I'm assuming I'm saying that right. I'm not 100%. I think I'm saying it right. It is an interesting name. I don't know exactly where it originates, but it is an interesting name. And it's funny, when his name just first popped up on the radar yesterday, it said he's from Troy, right? That's the high school he goes to. And I was thinking, okay, of course I was thinking Troy, Alabama. And I was like, this is weird. I've been keeping up with the HSA radio network. I've been keeping up with recruits all over the state. I know a bunch of 3-stars. You would think I'd know a 4-star. Well, it's Fullerton, California, Troy High School. Now, what's interesting here, of course, Alabama already has a commitment from a tight end out of California. And they're going after Vanderploeg, who, watch his tape. He's fun to watch. Now, he's committed to Washington right now. And I guess Alabama, under Kalen DeBoer, is going to try and upset Washington as much as they can, because if we could steal his commitment, that would certainly light a fire up under him, I'm sure. But he's a lot of fun to watch. And look, he is a 4-star on every one of the services, on 3, ESPN, 24/7, and Rivals. He is the number 8 tight end according to On 3, and the number 141 player in the country. And I just find it somewhat interesting because we're getting 2 tight ends, right? We've got a bunch of tight ends on the roster right now. So my guess is, I know someone will be leaving after this year. And so you do have to replenish the ranks. Still a lot of tight ends on the roster. So I'm guessing that either we're going to try and maybe move some of the other tight ends out very politely, or we are going to be using the tight ends a whole heck of a lot. And if you're an Alabama fan, you know Alabama fans always want to use the tight end more and more and more. So this would certainly be a dream come true for a lot of folks out there. But Vander Plug, which sounds like that should just be his last name. Is that just me? I mean, that sounds like that should just be his last name, right? I want to talk about a couple other guys playing on the NFHS network tonight. Of course, you can go on the NFHS network and check out all the games from anywhere. And I use it all the time. It's great. But Bishop Gorman will be taking on Mater Dei tonight. I can't wait to tune into that. And the thing that's great about this, of course, Bishop Gorman has the receiver whose name escapes me right now that Alabama was pushing for, and he ended up committing to LSU. Big play kind of guy, more of a practice legend than a game legend because he just hadn't played a ton. But I think he's got a lot of potential. And of course, Mater Dei has big time Alabama connections as of late. And right now they got Chuck McDonald and Abdul Sanders on that team. So I can't wait to check out that game. And another game that'll be on NFHS, I believe, will be the Keelan Russell's Duncanville game. So I would certainly plan on checking that out if you have access to the NFHS, because it is a lot of fun to watch these games. And if you're, especially when you're in the state of Alabama and you get highlights in the night, hopefully you're watching the scoreboard show that I'll be doing tonight, the AHSA Radio Network scoreboard show. But if not, you don't get to see a lot of these guys otherwise, unless BOL or somebody like that posts highlights. Well, NFHS allows you to watch this game live, and it's a ton of fun. So I can't wait to watch Chuck McDonald, Keelan Russell, all those guys play tonight. Wanted to talk quickly about Jalen Milroe for a second too. Jalen Milroe, I didn't know this, but he is in the latest article of GQ magazine. Look, I don't know why there's still Alabama fans out there who aren't sold on Milroe. I'm in. I'm sold. I'm 100% in with Jalen Milroe, and you should be too. And if you don't believe me, go read this GQ article. It will blow you away. He is he's unbelievable. He really is a fantastic ambassador for the University of Alabama, and we need to embrace him as much as we can, because this is a guy that he just gets it. I'm telling you, he just gets it, and he is a leader. Just the way he has handled himself, his vision, what he talks about. It talks about the way he's thinking as a teenager, that he's thinking, look, I need to be thinking, even though I'm a teenager, I need to be thinking about my life after 40. And, how few of us actually do that. But this is a guy who's got his life together. I think he's going to have some big things. A couple of comments out there. Jeff Horn says, tell us some good recruiting news. Well, I did just give you some on Vander Plug. This is a guy that's a top, pretty universal top 250 guy. And if Alabama were to get him, I mean, it certainly boosts the rankings. Also, I think it's crucial right now, as much as anything, that Alabama hang on to what they have more so than go after something new. Now, Vander Plug is one of those new guys on the scene. I think we'll see some more of that. I think we'll see some more seniors that are elevated. Look, there's some guys in the state of Alabama who are going to move up and down a little bit. Now, there's something. Naheem Alford's not going to move out of 5-star status. He's awesome. He's great. Okay. But there's going to be some other dudes that move from like unknown status to high 3-star, mid 4-star status. I don't think anybody's going to go into 5-star, but I think there will be some guys from the state of Alabama that will move up. And that goes from Mississippi and Georgia and Texas and everywhere that Alabama cast their net. So I feel like Alabama's probably going to evaluate some other guys. And they can be a little picky right now. They got the number 2 class with 20 commitments. That's a big deal. So I don't think people need to sell that short at all or get too worried about recruiting. I'm just like the rest of y'all. I fret over recruiting way too much, and I need to put a lot more faith in this staff. Now, John Glass has chimed in and said Jason Terry is coming to Alabama. I think he means Justice Terry. If Justice Terry were to commit to Alabama, that would certainly rattle some cages, wouldn't it? And look, I'm not nearly as optimistic as you are, John. However, if Justice Terry were to commit to Alabama, that would certainly be maybe one of the biggest pieces of news this news cycle. There's no doubt about it. So hopefully that can happen a little bit later on. All right, going to come back and talk a little bit about some Bama in the NFL, some games you need to keep an eye on. Of course, right now I want to tell you about Gametime, though. Boy, I've told you guys, so if you watch this podcast, you know I use Gametime all the time. I love it. I've used it for concerts. I've used it for Major League Baseball. I've used it for World Series. Used it for NFL, college football, college basketball, college baseball. I've used it for everything. I love it. It's awesome. Look, Gametime has a 50% off Labor Day offer for Diamondbacks Dodgers. That's pretty cool if you're in that area. I don't know how many Alabama fans we got there, but it is pretty cool. You can use all of these app features like customize your spot. That's so cool. Curated deals make it easy to find the best price on the great seats. There's something called the Super Deal, which is fantastic. It allows you to save a ton of money. I've already had some of our listeners chime in and say they got their tickets for Wisconsin through Gametime. We truly appreciate your doing that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today because, what time is it? It's Gametime, y'all. All right, let's talk a little bit about Alabama in the NFL this weekend. I mean, I don't know how many of y'all keep up with former Bama players in the NFL. I know some of y'all just are exclusively college, but I don't have a pro team. So I watch NFL strictly for fantasy, for gambling, and for Alabama players. And it's kind of a fun combo. But tonight, last night, Derrick Henry played. He had just a little under 50 yards rushing. Did have a touchdown, though. Again, I think he's going to be utilized more and more. I thought the Ravens did a poor job of using him last night, honestly. And Marlon Humphrey, of course, plays for the Ravens. What a game for the NFL for game one when it comes down to a review and the guy's big toe is on the back line out of bounds. That's pretty crazy. The NFL just always seems to hit the mark, doesn't it? But tonight you've got Green Bay and Philly. Now, I got good news. It is a game that is going to have a bunch of Bama dudes. It's going to have Josh Jacobs, who's now starting running back for the Green Bay Packers. It's going to have Devontae Smith and, of course, a litany of other Eagles that played at Alabama. Here's the bad news. It's on Peacock. I mean, I just said the NFL doesn't miss. Well, they missed this one because I'm not just buying another streaming service to watch a couple of NFL games for a year. I'm just not doing it. I've already bought YouTube TV. I love YouTube TV. Thankful I got it. But at the same time, I'm not buying another thing to watch, even though I love Bama players. So what I'm probably going to do is listen to the game on my Sirius XM and probably get about the same experience. I also have Devontae Smith on my fantasy team. Hey, if you're out there in the comments and you got some Bama dudes on your fantasy team, let me know. A couple other games of interest, of course. Tennessee is at Chicago. Caleb Williams is for Chicago, but Calvin Ridley is on Tennessee's team. So for those who don't know and want to check out Calvin Ridley, that game will be on Fox. That should be a lot of fun to watch. Cincinnati is going to host New England. Now, look, I went to the Cincinnati preseason game, and I saw Jermaine Burton really kind of show out. I did see an article that was rather troubling talking about how Jermaine Burton still isn't getting some things in terms of off the field, but I hope that gets it together, and I hope that he can, get it together and have a great career, because he certainly did a lot of good things for Alabama, but he does have some moderate troubling reputation. Miami and Jacksonville, of course, Tua. I got Tua on my fantasy team, and Jalen Waddle. So certainly going to be looking out for them. And then Denver at Seattle. How about Patrick Surtain? He was the highest paid CB ever, and now Miami has their cornerback Jalen Ramsey just surpassed him apparently. So that is what it is. And then Sunday night, Detroit with Jameson Williams, who I just picked up in my fantasy team, and Jahmyr Gibbs. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. And Washington, of course, with a lot of Bama players on it, especially on defense. They're at Tampa Bay. So a lot of fun NFL action, a lot of Bama dudes out there. Dallas at Cleveland. How about Amari Cooper playing his old team? That's super cool. Want to throw out one other note that somebody did put in here. Jeff Horn said Jasper Johnson is top 10 and we missed out on him, up the NIL. Jeff, let me say this about NIL, and Jimmy and I talk about this all the time. Yes, I do think NIL played a huge role in Jasper Johnson's commitment, right, to Kentucky. Now, it should be noted he is from Lexington, so he is right there in his backyard. It's still Kentucky, even though Alabama's been better than Kentucky the last 4 years. I don't think that's even debatable. So, I mean, for the moment, Alabama's the better program. I'm 100% on board. And I think Alabama is probably the better spot for this kid. I don't think there's any doubt. The development, the style of play, all those things. Even he's going to get as much notoriety at Bama right now as he is anywhere else. But I do think NIL played a role. But here's the deal about Alabama's NIL, and I think it's a lot like football. Yes, they will pay very competitively, okay? But I don't think Alabama's going to overpay, and I don't think they're desperate. And I think that if you overpay, it's one of two things. You're really, really desperate, and or you're just like, I can't let this guy get away, which may be what Kentucky did. Or you're just like, hey, I got to get back on the map. I mean, I think about schools like Texas A&M a few years ago, maybe even Auburn this year, where they're paying a lot. Their NIL, it seems to be going a lot more gangbusters, because they want to do what all their rivals seem to be doing, their main rivals. They want to win. And to win, you got to go get good players. And I think Alabama is going to be competitive with NIL forever. I really do. I think they're going to be very competitive. At the same time, I don't think they're going to overpay. So I'm not on board with overpaying for Jasper Johnson. I might be on board for overpaying for AJ Dabanasta. I don't know if that's how you say it, but he is at a private school in Utah right now. This guy is like a one-of-a-kind freak. I mean, he is just a freakazoid. Unbelievable player. And it seems like he's going to end up at BYU, which you say, what the heck is that about? Well, what that about is probably NIL. Look, put the pieces together. He's now at a prep school in Utah, and BYU wants to win, and BYU wants to make some noise because, here's BYU. Now they're in the Big 12. And so they want to step it up, and they've got some money, just like SMU is probably going to start stepping it up. So it's going to be teams like that and programs like that have access to a lot of funds and probably some very wealthy donors that are very brand loyal. Jimmy and I, we can't wait to talk about a new sponsor we've got coming on. And there's going to be an opportunity for you guys. I'm not going to even say the name yet, but we got a new sponsor coming on. They reached out to us like one of the first ones. So kudos to you guys for helping making this popular. There's going to be an opportunity for you guys out there very shortly to be able to contribute to your players practically directly in as little or as much of an amount as you want. Okay? I don't want to go into all the specifics because I don't know exactly what all they want me to say, but I have talked to them a lot about it. And I'm telling you, you're going to have the opportunity, if it's Ryan Williams, if it's whomever, Jalen Milroe, James Burnham, you're like, hey, a 79-yard punt? Yeah, I'd like to send him $15 or $50 or $10, whatever you want. You're going to have the opportunity to do that through this program. And there's a lot of more details for me to tell you, but it's not going to go straight to him via PayPal or something. There is a process here, and it is going to be perfectly legal, and it is not going to compete with Alabama's collectives. Okay. It is for the common folk. It is for the ones that don't want to dish out 25 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand to an NIL, but they're like, hey, I'm really enjoying this. I'm watching the game with my son. And I don't know, throw out somebody. James Smith just made a big time tackle. And my son's going nuts, and I just have $25 burning a hole in my pocket. And so I'm going to send it to him through this process. And all the money will go to him. There's no this process takes money out of what you give. No, all that money will eventually get to him. But again, there will be a process to it. I'll tell you more about it later. I'm super excited about it because I think you guys are going to love this. And it's going to be very, very cool. So anyway, Jeff Horn says we don't need to be recruiting Washington type players. Hey, Jeff, he's a top 250 player and he's a tight end. Go watch the tape. He's good. I don't care if they're from the South or not. If they're good and the coaching staff thinks they're good enough to play for Alabama, that's all that matters. All right. That's going to do it for this live episode. Hey, man, thanks. Had a lot of people join in. Appreciate it. I know it's random. Didn't announce it. Didn't do anything. But, I was like, Jimmy, I know you can't make it, but I want to put something out there. There's been a lot of recruiting news. So we'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.